Previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
But maybe it didn't start from the top. Maybe it didn't start from the leads. Maybe they just said, hey, make subclasses that are nice, that are good. And they just kind of like handed it off the Sandbox to do whatever with it. Well, that concerns me. That concerns me. I know some of the Sandbox guys. I like Bungie Sandbox team. I do. I'm simply just trying to get answers in my head. I'm trying to formulate hypothesis on how something like Stasis even shipped. I'm just trying to get an understanding here. Because if the leads didn't come out and say, hey, listen, we need Stasis subclasses to be potent, then that means Stasis subclasses were made potent based on this ideology of harmony that doesn't exist within Bungie Sandbox team. I need a guy from Sandbox to look at me and go, yeah, Cross, Stasis is overtuned. And we purposely made it that way for X number of reasons. But if they looked at me and they say, Stasis is good, but I didn't think it was that powerful, I'm worried. I'm concerned because there is no way in hell Stasis, under any efficient means of playtesting, should have ever shipped.
And now, the conclusion.
What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again, once again, and today, people, today, in a revealing interview on the Destiny Community Podcast, Abilities, Features, and Sandbox Discipline lead, Kevin Yanis, along with Weapons Feature lead, Chris Proctor, spoke candidly about how Stasis came to be so overpowered in PvP, admitting they knew it would need to be nerfed when they shipped it. But before we get into the quotations, a word from a friend of the channel and a personal friend of mine, Nathan Sane.
Quick disclaimer, I am not attacking any Bungie devs or anything like that. They are just employees and they're just following orders from the higher ups. If we want to point blame at anybody, we should look at the top because it is a trickle-down effect, so please do not attack any Bungie devs for their opinions. That being said, if they give me meme material, I am going to use it, so I'm going to make memes out of it. Sorry. Not sorry.
Alright, got it good. So let's dive in and learn about the troubled development of Stasis. Our journey starts with a quote. It was the pursuit of player value that haunted Yanis and his team to just keep tuning up and up and up until they got Stasis version 1.0 and all of its aim-destroying, quintuple freezing, shatter-diving madness. Yanis also admitted to knowing Stasis was way too hot before launch. When we shipped it, the consensus was, yup, we're gonna have to nerf that, he said. The quote I gave one of our gameplay specialists before they left was, I expect to hit this about 3 or 4 times before we get it to a place where I'm comfortable with.
We're thinking a lot about how we lay the foundations for a healthier PvP game.
We're really committed starting in year 3 to have a renewed focus all through the year on PvP.
We've been working to balance the abilities, the subclasses, the weapons, the armor, to make sure it is as fun and as fair as possible. We've done a lot because it's important.
An oldie, but a goodie. In writing, there's a philosophy called kill your darlings. It's when you decide to get rid of an unnecessary storyline, character, or sentence in a piece of creative writing. Elements that you may have worked hard to create, but must be removed for the sake of the overall story. And from a game development point of view, as we continue on, it's going to sound like Stasis was that darling. Now, I'm not saying that a new subclass was unnecessary. Destiny is an old game at this point, and the last time the subclasses got a significant overhaul across the board, and not just a reworking of a perk or two or a specific tree, was during Forsaken, and I'd even go as far as to argue that the last time anything really significant happened to the subclasses was at the start of Destiny 2. New subclasses were absolutely necessary, not just for selling Beyond Light to the masses, but for the overall health of the game, to keep it from stagnation. However, as we'll see, it's clear that Bungie had absolutely positively no clue what they were doing with Stasis. Or I guess it would be more accurate to say that they had an idea of what they wished Stasis would do, the role that they wished it would play in the sandbox. But, as the saying goes, wish in one hand, piss in the other, see which one fills up faster. The initial idea behind Stasis' role in PvP goes as follows. We wanted this fantasy of countering the unbridled aggression the game currently has. We definitely looked at the game and how it was played at the time and saw a clear need for something to shut down shotgun rushers, the pogoing hunter, something that felt like you had an opportunity other than also rush, also pogo, or back off. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand the want, the need, the necessity, the wish to rein these things in. But ask most players, Often, if they give it 2 seconds of thought and are not raging about Fellwinters and Hunters and shotgun OHK range or Hunter's ability to dodge in and out of cover or yada 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 yada, any other Destiny bullshit given the time of day. These aren't really the issues. They're frustrating, they're a symptom, but they're not the cause. If people are being honest with themselves, the fundamental problem with Destiny 2 PvP from the ground up is map design. If I might go off on a tangent for a moment, Destiny 2 PvP map design is terrible. Map flow is atrocious, if outright non-existent outside of Troll, which is likely the reason, one, Destiny has so few game types, the maps simply just do not accommodate anything other than Control. I mean, look, nobody liked playing Supremacy, and Clash is a rotating playlist. And two, this is why I think Control is the main playlist, as Control points artificially make up for the fact that there's literally no reason to move out of spawn on any given map. Again, see Destiny 2 Year 1, when everything was 4v4, abilities couldn't kill shit worth fuck, and everybody just stayed in a corner 3-peeking, team shooting, and waiting on supers. Kinda like Trials of Osiris. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So when your map design is solely to accommodate Control, and we've not only not gotten a new map in over 600 days, but Bungie has actively taken maps out, including but not limited to any and all of the large maps, you run into the problem where the maps that are left behind largely play the same. You have your points areas, which are just kind of enclosed areas, and you have your crowded hallways leading to them, or your maps are divided into engagement segmentums, which again narrows down the engagement distance. Shotgun rushing and hunter movement, as pointed out by abilities feature and Sandbox discipline lead Kevin Yanis, might be a problem, but it's only a problem because every map in Destiny is built with the effective engagement range of Fellwinter's Lie. So how does this circle back? How does this apply to Stasis? Well, because hunters, as used in Yanis' example, still have dodge. They still pogo in and out of engagements. They can still use Fellwinter's Lie. All you've done with Stasis before the nerfs was allow them to be more effective at shotgun rushing. Because now not only do you have people playing optimally at small enclosed engagement ranges, but with Stasis they have the ability to remove their opponent's ability to play the game, further exacerbating the intrinsic issues already inherent in the Sandbox, created by weapons and map design. Like, no, really, how did Bungie not see this coming from the mere presence of let's freeze other players to punish rushing? Oh yeah, and not only do they leave every class's movement abilities intact, while giving them the ability to freeze other players, but they give them a slew of new movement options and abilities, like freezing dodge roll, Mask of Baccharis, or the Titan Super Shotgun Slide. It's not like we have a perk in the game that rewards you for sliding and shotgunning or anything. I'm sure there's absolutely positively no way that this cavalcade of abilities and perks come together to make shotgun rushing even more effective. No, absolutely not. I mean, just fuck, man. How? What series of events, what Herculean leap in logic that us mere mortals will never be able to comprehend led Bungie to the conclusion that more effective shotgun rushing would lead to less shotgun rushing? And not to orbital curb stomp a dead horse, but how did nobody point this out? How did the development team not inherently see the flaw in this premise? Was the assertion on their part that everybody would just get sick of being frozen, so everybody would just start using stasis and freeze one another, and that would slow the game down because nobody would want to be frozen, and so the game would be more passive as a result? Then again, this is the same exact interview where the devs gave us this gem.
I view grenade launches as kind of a skill shot, like going back to Halo Reach Pro Pipe days. Like, they should be hard to use, but rewarding kind of utility weapons. And they have the potential to one-hit kill, but they're pretty hard to use, and I think that the usage rates bear that out.
You know that the Pro Pipe in Halo Reach was a map pickup, and it was strong because it was a map pickup. You know this, right? Please tell me you did not miss the point of map pickups in fucking Halo. Now, I'm sure I don't need to continue explaining why Stasis was a prime candidate for abortion after conception. But fuck it, let's keep going, see what happens. Quote, freezing started out as a no bleed through 100 HP shield and you didn't do a ton of damage to it. So it was just painful, Yanis explained. Yeah, you could freeze that dude, but that's all you did. It felt super dissident to the rest of the game that was about handling an encounter, finding the next one. Stasis at the time felt like, I'm going to deal with that one guy for upwards of 5 seconds. And that's nuts in a game like Destiny. There's friction that we were dealing with that was like, I don't really understand the implicit value in freezing someone in a game that's about constantly running and gunning, Yanis continued. Did I misread that? I don't really understand the implicit value in freezing someone in a game that's about consistently running and gunning, Yanis explained. Ow. 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 Nope, brain cells aren't dead yet. Oh, Yanny boy. The pipes are calling. Destiny is a game where most of the player base considers movement to be the actual skill gap of the game. If you take that away from players, you know, the ability to do the runny, jumpy, climby shit and pause the game for them, then the rest of the sandbox, like, I don't know, the attacker's ability to move, map design, and shotguns become more dominant. The intrinsic value is the overly oppressive ability to take control away from the other player. But we continue. There's a second thing, like, I can't perceive the value of freezing as easily as I can perceive Golden Gun, because Golden Gun just fucking deletes someone. Ow. 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 Nope, brain cells aren't dead yet. Oh, Yanny boy. Second verse, same as the first. Look, I'm really trying not to be a dick, but these quotes are not making it easy. There just seems to be this really big disconnect between what the game is and what the sandbox developers, yada yada yada, think the game is. As illustrated with them not understanding the intrinsic value of how freezing a player affects a movement-based game like Destiny, while simultaneously believing that freezing will stop shotgun rushing. To somebody who, say, maybe doesn't play Destiny, you might hear, we gave players the ability to freeze shotgun rushers to cut down on shotgun rushing and think, that sounds like an adequate counter. But in reality, they've not made shotgun rushing less effective. They've made it more effective. At least before the nerf. Keep in mind when we're talking about this, we're talking about the mentality that went into designing these concepts and not how these concepts sit currently. But back to my point. On top of making shotgun rushing more effective, they've also codified a game where most engagements boil down to first come, first serve. Because now you're freezing people. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it sounds like from this interview, the Destiny that players play and the Destiny that Bungie plays are two entirely different games, because the sentiments delivered in this interview come off as complete and utter ignorance of reality, or like the inability to extrapolate more than 3 data points ahead. If I was to play devil's advocate, the only devil's advocate point I could presume is that Bungie devs are isolated during the development stages. So features like Stasis are played in a playtest lab, and they're probably not being played against the best of the best. I'd have to imagine there's a fairly small skill gap in the Bungie office, at least for the sake of argument. And even when they bring the community in to playtest these changes, there's only so much people will be able to quantify after a few hours of playtesting. That said, my devil's advocate argument cannot account for the premise of Stasis just being bad from the start, nor the development team somehow not understanding the intrinsic value of freezing an opponent in PvP, simply because it's not something like Golden Gun, which is a super. Stasis is just another thing in a long line of things that get added to Destiny that you look at it and you go, how exactly did this get past playtesting? That said, hopefully Bungie has learned something from the introduction of Stasis, and we won't have to deal with this again in Witch Queen, which we probably will. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon. But above all else, stay frosty.